No, I don't need to lower down the photo. I'm aware of it. It's just a different aspect ratio, so it is where it is. All right, let's get going here. How's it going there, FS? Ymir, how are you, Skelpton? What's going on? I am testing rockets. I'm aware of the gap. You don't need to tell me about the gap. I can see it on OBS. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna start working on this here. Try to super pressurize a rocket. I want to make an SSTO. That's kind of what I really want to build, but it is not wise to do something too complicated yet. It is wiser for me to start a little bit on the simple side. So we're gonna do that. So, and then we'll go from there. So let's see, large. Let's go with largems. Okay, what do we? I want to make an SSTO, but that will happen, I think, a little bit later. So SSTO, single stage to orbit, that is all about, you essentially have one vehicle that can make it from the ground all the way up there. And so that's what I want to do, but that will come later. Alright, so let's see. I think I'm trying to decide if I want to super pressurize this. I think I'm just gonna test first, and then I'll try to do super pressurization later. I think we can super pressurize anyway. Let's put on symmetry. There we go. All right. So we could asparagus stage, but I don't think I'm gonna worry about asparagus staging yet. I think I'm just gonna go for the simple, and then once I kind of have some simple ideas going, we can work from there. So, like, the SSTO is going to be, it's going to essentially self-straddle launch. What it'll do is it will go as high as we can with jets, and then it will switch over, because you're having to burn hydrogen and oxidizer, so you have to bring the oxidizer with you all the way up for, you know, to get into orbit. If you do a straddle launcher, you're only having to bring... essentially, you're using the oxygen from the atmosphere to get a good portion of the way there, and then once you do not have the oxygen to continue, you then go ahead and then you can burn the fuel that you're having to carry. So that's a efficient way to do it, but that is, we're a little premature for that. I need to see some rates and everything else before I get into that. So I'm trying to decide how I wish to do this here. I think we're gonna do custom for now, and then again, this is just a test. I kind of want to do a more advanced type of rocket, but we're starting simple to start with. Okay. I wish we could do rocket turbo pumps, but I don't think we can. The way a turbo pump works is the turbo pump, it uses the gases off the rocket to spin essentially the intake pump so that you can get fuel moving in there very fast, but I don't think we'll work with that yet. Yep, that would be interesting. I wouldn't do that. It's a little fantasy for me, but I would do a refueling station. I believe they're one directional, so you just do one facing pitch yaw roll. Let's see. Alright, what are we running here? We're running hydro and oxygen. Let's do regular small pump for now. I'm just trying to get a baseline on this. You know, in Kerbal, for example, you have delta V. Delta V is change in velocity. And so with delta V, with the change in velocity, for example, you know that, for example, to get to the moon, it takes, say, 2300 delta V. And so if you put in enough delta V, the ability to change velocity, it... let's do gas first. It allows you to change your velocity, and that way... it tells you how much velocity you need to change. So, for example, if it's going to take 2300 delta V to get from the Earth to the Moon, and you have 2400 delta V, you know you have enough fuel, essentially, if you don't waste any. We don't really have that, so I'm trying to get some of the stuff done here that I need, kind of know I need to do, like figure out efficiency standards. All right. So for the test, let's see, what are we gonna do here? The vacuum's yelling at me. I don't know which one's Z and which one's X, but we'll figure it out in here in a second. Go off the side there. WS, alright. We'll screw with the gimbal here in a second. What do you, throttle? Throttle there. Okay, throttle will be up, down. Kind of wish I had it turned the other way. Symmetry would be easier, but whatever. Let's actually do that. No, that's alright. We'll leave it like this. That's backwards here. Let's grab that. Okay. And once I kind of get to efficiency standards, we'll be good to go here. So let's see. I need venting to try to vent this out, so let's go there and there. I'll change the plane here. Duplicate. All right. Keep the gas in the system. Alright, and I need to figure out how many liters we have in here at some point. Why did that not frickin' duplicate now? How did I get back to X? I clicked on this. Damn it. That's obnoxious. I thought I just clicked on that. Check chat in a second, guys. Alright, so we're gonna vent first. Alright, and I need to put in some gas meters here. Stick them wherever. Vacuum cleaner needs to be quiet. Alright, have a couple gas meters in there. Alright, let's launch that and see. Check some data. You tip over, you scum? Yep. That actually makes it easier to check some stuff as long as it didn't get damaged. As I fall into the pit. Alright. It's obnoxious. 11,250. Alright, 11,250. So we're looking for 11,250. please. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay, camera. Go. Yes, vacuum, I know you have an error 5. I'll get to you when I get to you. Vacuum can't go more than 10 feet without needing to be reset. Alright, so 11 to 50 is the word. Alright. You sit. Can you sit so I can do testing? Lovely. Alright, let's check these tanks. What are we holding here? Does it not tell me how much you hold? Devil. I assume it probably depends on density, so that would kind of actually make sense. So let's see what those are holding for volumes. What do you have in there? So that's 35,000 liters, so that's more than enough. Plus, we can probably push that in. So, all right. Just want a lot of fuel. Let's see what we have here. How's it going there, Citrus? Let me see. Not too much working some rocket stuff. I don't know why the chat seems glitched for you. It seems good for me. I don't know about everyone else. Yeah. You can't, you know, I know how to make air brakes. It's you're just going to be using the tank value essentially. That's all you're using. You can't actually make the brakes work that way. You have to, you know, essentially feed the number value, which is what I'm going to be doing anyways. It's going to be simulated anyway. All right, so let's get working on this. So, all right, so let's see. 5, we're going to vent. So I want to start the venting process there. All right. All right. What plane are we on? That's good. Okay. Nope. Where are we at here? I'm trying to find the frickin' thing. That was correct. Okay, it's just down 1. There. There. Okay. Do like these new fluid ports though. Since they're omnidirectional, it lets you put them right up against things, which is nice, like that. So, again, good improvement on some of the stuff they've done with this. Like, that allows us to not, you know, we put fluid ports right up against stuff, so that's nice. All right. don't know if these are all in line, actually. I think they are, but... Okay. Those aren't in line, so I'll fix those. Okay. These are all askew as well. English language me speak. To fix these two as I screw up there. What they have in them. Okay, that's good there. Let's make sure these are all oxy. Okay, good. Fix the hydrogen ends. Hydro. Okay, good. Okay. Should be good for now. Let's get rid of these. Okay. Alright, this hydrogen oxygen there. Probably valve these, or pump these. Let's see. We'll push them in anyway. So. But I do need to valve these because I need to purge first, so put a valve in for purging. Just delete them out. I'm gonna have to fix them anyway. Okay. How is it? Down here. There it is. Okay. So we're up and running there. Oh, did that doubled somehow? Yeah, because I had that on. Okay. Fix that. Alright, so 5 will be the purge. We'll do 4 for inlet right now. Alright, 4, this purge. Alright, there's inlet. Where's my valves? That I literally just delete the valve. God damn it, I had symmetry on. Okay. That's annoying. Back it up. And take the friggin' symmetry off. There we go. Okay. I thought I clicked it off. I guess I did not. I did it in my mind. Alright, there we go. Let's go 4 to valve this sucker. Alright, there's inlet valves. 6, where are you at? 6. 6 is going to be pump and ignition. Okay. Alright, so we'll start with a purge, and then we'll inlet, and I'll see where we're at on that. Okay, So I think we're almost ready to just do some tests here. All right, let's score some tests here and read a couple little chat here. Yeah, there's no orbital mechanics, but you know, at the end of the day, you kind of have to don't make the game too complicated. Like it's like Beam MG. It's like when some people are like, oh, you know, they should add destructibility like in Beam. Well, kind of the point of this game is, let's just purge. The look, got distracted here. I'm just gonna do vertical on the seat here. Like Beams, that's Beam's whole thing, and they worked years and years on getting that one thing done. Kerbals is orbital mechanics. You know, that's Kerbals' main thing and so it's like Stormworks' main thing and its main job, what it's good at, is building. So it's, you know, and that's the focus of the game. You know, so they have to have a little bit different. Let's see, what was I doing here? Check and purge. All right, purge is what? Purge is 5. 5 inlet push. Okay, 5 inlet push. Okay. So, turn on the purge real quick. So I'm trying to just get the air out of these tanks. Okay. Let's see. One thing that would be nice is if, when I no-clip, if I could... Oh, god damn it. Why? Why do you have to do that to me there, guy? Be nice if I could no-clip and also check things like this. Is that actually pulling gas? What the hell is it doing? Why is that not working right? Why are those pumps not working? I have infinite electricity on? I should. Nope, that's why. Okay. Infinite electricity wasn't on. I did not know how the state I left the game in. I should put a platform up here so I can check things. Alright, so I'm just going to let that essentially try to pump a vacuum. And that way I can fully fill the tanks. I don't have any trace waste gas. No idea yet for the name of my space department. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how I got sick. I literally hadn't been out of the house for only a couple times, and no clue what, who or what got me sick there. Kind of an obnoxious. Reddit's gonna be asked to take Reddit off my phone again. It's being quite obnoxious. It keeps pinging me every time there's a random community that posts. It's like I used to have Reddit as fun, and then they did their API changes, so I think I'm just gonna take it off my friggin' phone. If it's gonna be obnoxious with that, I'll take it back off my phone. You know, like the browser is much better than the app too. I'll just uninstall the sucker. Alright, so I was waiting for that to pull a vacuum, and then should be able to fill it with hydrogen oxygen. We'll take a quick... I didn't set something up right, which that sucks. Alright. Okay, let's go. I gotta fix this. Okay. I'll do this as well. Where are we at? Where's the workbench? On that side? Okay, here. Put that there and go like this. I have to do something or else this isn't going to work. Those will be in pumps there. Alright, so we need a purge and then I need a launch. So 6 is going to be... actually, we'll do it separately. We'll observe good Kerbal practices here. I'll let it fire off and then I'll drop the base. Just make sure I have greater than 1. So thrust to weight ratio. All right. Let's do this while I'm at it before I keep having this problem. Okay, put a little platform here so I can stand and check on things. do 5, purge this out, get a vacuum pulled. I really want to make the SSTO. That's going to be a long process, but I need to see essentially, like, what are we looking for as far as size, you know? Because it's going to be different for a straddle launcher. So kind of the straddle launcher is going to, you know, say fly up to whatever altitude we can get up to, 40,000 feet. Then we pop the rockets, and so that allows us to utilize the oxygen in the atmosphere instead of having to carry it with us. And so that's one of the reasons why people want, why straddle launchers, let me, like the, what is it, Virgin Galactic used straddle launchers. That's like the X-15 was a straddle launcher. I'll bring some pictures up of some straddle launchers. That's what I used to always do in Kerbal, and that was a really good way to do it. So, like, here are some straddle launchers. Like, this is a straddle launcher. You see, they put the rockets underneath. It flies up high and as fast as it can, as high as it can, and then it will drop the rocket. So you need, you know, the thickest part of the atmosphere being low down, you require an insane amount of fuel just to get you through that thick atmosphere. You also have to worry about, not that we have to do it in this game, but different type of rocket nozzles are best for vacuum and for an atmosphere. Let's try to find some different bells. As that, I gotta kill some time while that's going too. So, like, here's like them straddle launching a vehicle. See some Kerbal stuff. Mine were much more elegant than that, but like some cool straddle launcher stuff. And then, so like, let's see. So like different rocket nozzles. You know, this game's not getting into that level of complexity, but for example, like when you're down low, here's a divergent, convergent nozzles. So like when you can see here, so when you're very low in the atmosphere, you have all this high air pressure pushing on the plume, essentially. So you have it come out, it expands into the bell, and you notice it's pretty compact still, and that's because the air pressure is pushing on it, as you can see, by high ambient air pressure. As you go up, the exhaust plume starts to expand out to the width of the column, and that's because the air pressure is starting to equalize. So as you can see, the exit pressure equals ambient pressure. Then you get to the point where exit pressure is greater than ambient pressure and you get a big plume. And this is not very efficient. So for example, you will start to get into really divergent nozzles that get very wide. I'm trying to find some good pictures of more divergent nozzles. And so, for example, like in a game like Kerbal, that's important. So, for example, like if you were going to launch a conventional rocket, the first stage of the rocket will have a nozzle that is most efficient in the atmosphere. So here's like a vacuum-operated nozzle. This is what it's going to look like because there's no air pressure to push against it. So what you want is a very large bell. So you'll notice that, like, let me see if I can just find some Kerbal parts. It'd be easier. Kerbal nozzles. It's been making me want to play some Kerbal lately. Let's see. Like this here, this would be a good nozzle for low in the atmosphere. It's a nice tight nozzle, very convergent nozzle. That is very good for low in the atmosphere. As you get up, I'm trying to find like a good vacuum nozzle. See if I can put in vacuum nozzle and it will show me. Not that kind of vacuum nozzle. So like a very large bell, it's more efficient for vacuum because you're holding more of that. Like you can kind of see a little bit here, like these wider nozzles. Those are better for. Those are better for when you get into. Probably the forum's best. Those are better for when you get into the vacuum of space because you don't have that air pressure keeping it together. So you have different nozzle designs. Not that we have it in this game, not that we should. But that's kind of what goes on and why you need those different designs. So if you're going to do, say you do a 3-stage rocket, the first stage is going to have a low atmosphere nozzle. The second stage is going to have kind of like ideal nozzles for you know, the middle atmosphere, and then once you get in the vacuum, the final stage is going to have those types. And so you get into problems with SSTOs because the different this is KSP2. We don't want to go to that. That's a mess. KSP2 is kind of a zoo right now, I guess. Try to find it. So, right here. You know, so you kind of would optimize your nozzles. Not that we have to do that, but those are some of the kind of the rocketry principles you have to kind of think about. And that's what Kerbal is good for. That's what Kerbal's whole job is. Terrier rocket? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember the names of any of them. Let's check. I'm going to check the vacuum state. Did I even turn? I had better have turned this on. I'm going to be pissed off. Let's see. Okay, good. So we've pulled a vacuum here. As you can see, we have, you know, pretty much zero nitrogen. Our gas, as you can see, it's going to keep going down. So somebody made a good point on Reddit, which is always a shock, but fuck, falling in the hole again. You know, they were talking about the way the game operates numbers is like even if it shows 0, it's many decimal places. So it's like 10 to the negative 38 before it will actually be empty. And so that's why we're having problems with like spinning out certain gases. Is the centrifuges should be able to go from nitrogen to oxygen to carbon dioxide. The issue being this is that even though the nitrogen looks to be at 0, it's really not at 0. So the game still knows that it's not at 0. So it's essentially saying, oh, which is the lightest? Oh, it's nitrogen. Okay, well, we still have 0.0000001 nitrogen in there, so I'm going to keep pulling nitrogen. You know, so that's essentially what's going on. All right, so we are now pretty much pulled on that vacuum there. All right, we're starting to... Up. Crap. Fucking ass. God damn. Making my life difficult there, game. Alright. I was venting still. I need to stop the vent. Alright. Hopefully we didn't lose too much on that. Alright, so now we're filling. Theoretically, why are you not filling? Because I need to open the valves, which are at 4. That'll be why. Okay. So that was fine. Okay, there we go. You can hear it coming in now. Alright, pumping in a lot of oxygen in here. Alright, we'll check, make sure the other side's getting hydrogen. Try not to fall in that freaking hole again. Alright, good. So we're getting hydrogen on that side. Doing well here. Alright, read a little chat. Stormworks Vibe or Vice? Is that what you mean? Vice? I don't know. Vice is a lot of work, so I really have to be feeling it, and it got barely any views, so. Yeah, it's pretty daunting when you first start. You know, like because a lot of games, and like you'll see this. And people who come in who get very frustrated, or they say the game sucks, or like they're like, this game's a buggy. They'll say this game's a buggy mess, and you'll look and they have like 20 hours in game. And legitimately, I see very few bugs. Like very rarely do I get any bugs. And part of it is because people are conflating that they're not engineering correctly with it's a game bug. Because if it doesn't work, it must not be me. It must be the game. Well, the problem is. You get like I was talking yesterday with aligning the center of thrust to the center of gravity. People didn't understand that, you don't put the center, you need to have the center of thrust in line with the center of gravity, or you need to make some corrections. Well, you go in a lot of games, like I said, you put a propeller anywhere, it fakes the thrust to be at the center of gravity. And the center of gravity is always in the center of the plane, no matter what. The center of thrust is always in the center of the plane, no matter what. And it always works. That's not how real life works, and so, those people will think that's a bug when it's not. They didn't design it correctly, and so that, you often see that, and so that can be very daunting, if you know, and some people just have zero interest in doing the research, and that's fine. But again, if you want successful designs, you kind of have to do that. You know, so it's not a game for everybody, and that's kind of the thing. And you know, you see people who only use workshop creation. That's fine. That's what they want to do. You know, I'm just gonna do a quick save here. Let's see. All right, launch test. All right, I need to remember all these controls, what I set up here. So I'm just going to crack on the throttle here really quick. I should have checked the gimbal here while I was at it. I can't really see. Well, it's a non-visual gimbal. Okay, that's fine. So I'm just hammering the throttle up. All right, and we'll light it. That obviously didn't work. What the fuck? All right. Alright, this sucks. It takes a while to get this set up, and then I don't know what's going on here, so... Did I not hook up 6 to what I need to be hooked up on? I can't see 6 either. God damn it, I'm gonna have to recycle this through here. This is being obnoxious. Alright. There is... Where's 6? Can't fucking see here. 6. Okay. I'm gonna make a trigger anyway, because I can actually see it. Trigger is gonna be toggle. Alright. 6 is gonna come down. I want... 6 should do ignition. It should turn on the pumps. And it should... see, I probably can't release like that. Let me see. Doesn't matter, I'll fly off with the friggin' thing if I need to start with, but... Sometimes I can go through, sometimes I can't. Release, alright. I don't understand why that wasn't working. Let's see. Throttle should be up, down. Okay. Don't know why I didn't get that. Sensitivity 3%. That's fine. WS is fine. Let's reset. That's fine. Trigger should be toggle. Okay. Alright. I'm just going to play with some buttons here and see what the hell's up. So check the seat, make sure the toggle worked. See, I can't see, that's the problem. Trigger's true, okay, that's what I want. What are you doing down here? Alright, ignition's true. Those are pushing through, okay. Why am I not getting light off? I don't have anything in it now, but I did have things in it before and it wasn't lighting off, so I'm gonna just put a little bit in, see if I can get a light off. So I do have a pump going. I don't know what that's all about. Okay, let's go 4. 4 is valves, 5 is what I want. All right, I'm gonna purge it really quickly. See what it does. I was able to fill it. I don't know why it wasn't popping. Yeah, I'm just trying to get it to work. I'm gonna try to do what I'd love to do is so like the way rockets do it in real life. I was talking about this for a second. Is rocket pumps. I need to wait for the purge anyway, so I'll talk about rocket pumps. It assumes that I want some stupid kids' toys instead of an actual rocket pump. So I have to type in like NASA rocket pump to be able to, because it's trying to tell me stupid kids' toys instead of real stuff. So like here is a rocket pump. You can barely see it, but like here's a rocket pump. So like you have, so the hot gases, they come through a turbo essentially, and that spins, of course, incredibly fast, and then it will that will suck the fuel in. so it's moving at the rate of the gases exiting the nozzle, so it's very fast. See if we can see. Like, here's a good one. Here's a good image. Of course, I'm gonna click on the image, go to your website to get you the click rate, and then I can click on it. And there we go. Okay, so like here, rocket pumps. So like the gases come up and through, and they will spin this up, and then that will allow it to go out. So it's essentially using the rocket gases to inlet, so that it can pull the gases in, so that it can shoot them out very fast. Let's see. So it'd be cool to do something like that for an impeller pump. Of course, we're not going to be able to do it IRL in game, but that would be very neat if we could do something like that. So I will simulate that with impeller pumps, that when the rocket fires, it will essentially, it'll be rate limited. So the higher the throttle, the faster the gases will come through. Probably something like that. Yeah. You see a bunch of, so like this is a more efficient design, this type of bell. Because what you have certain rocket pumps that what they do is they vent. So some of the gases come through into the rocket pump and they just shoot out the side. More efficient systems like this come in and they dump it into the bell, which is more fuel efficient. So like this one, no, that one dumps in the bell. Trying to find one that doesn't dump it in the bell. Let's see, Kerbal rocket. So I'm trying to find, it's like Kerbal has a bunch that are vent ones. I can't see. This one dumps it in the bell. They had a bunch over the years that they were kind of the old school that just dumped them right. I think this one's here. Yeah, this one's one right here, I think. Like this one here, that it would be the rocket pump, and it would just dump it out the side. So it's not as efficient because you're not getting much thrust out of that because the bell helps with thrust. So like a lot of the newer designs, they vent directly into the bell so that you get more pressure and it's more fuel efficient. All right, let's see where we're at on the vent process. I'd like to get this thing popped. All right, we almost pulled a vacuum in here. All right, let's see here. All right, we'll go with that. That's not too bad. All right. Yeah, we'll try to pump it in. What is... So I hear pump going. Should be no pump running right now. Do I have the rocket on? I don't know. Let me look. I need to find out what pump I have going. That's true. So it's my outflows are going. Why are they running? What are they running? I think they should be able to run. That should be fine. I want to make sure it's not pushing gas through the bell. Okay, nothing's going through there. I don't know why those are running, though. And I don't want to friggin' restart the engine. See, it's letting it vent out, I think. Let's just try a quick launch on this. I just want to see if it's going to run. Okay. Nope. What the fuck? It's feeding. The ignition should be on. Why are you not running there, sir? Do I have to do a friggin' static test? Now it's running nothing. Okay. Ignition false. I just clicked the friggin' button, ignite, you scum. That's pissing me off now. Ugh. What is my throttle? Okay, so we are barely in throttle, that's fine. Ignition says false. Why we have a false ignition? I just pressed the button for ignition. Should have ignition. Does it need the gas? So there's ignition, true. Okay, it's taking oxygen and hydrogen. Getting no thrust, huh? Okay, what the hell? Okay. We'll see what the hell's going on here in a second. So it says ignition's on. I have hydrogen and oxygen. Starting to throttle up. Don't know what the hell it's doing here. Interesting. Might switch to do a quick static test here. It has high flow rates through the bell. I don't know what the hell the story is. Infinite electricity's on. Infinite fuel, of course, works. So are the trace gases screwing this up enough that it doesn't want to... The WS is the wrong way, so I need to switch WS, A, and D. So it seems like, I don't know if the trace gases are dicking with it or what. I'm all screwed up with having WS, A, and D the wrong way around. Alright, let's do a static fire, see what I can get accomplished with that. Alright. Let's save this as rocket test 1. Okay. I'm gonna do a static test. See what the hell's going on with this. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do this. Alright. Should have started with a static test like this anyway. Oxygen, okay. Could have screwed up. I could have screwed up what putting in them too. So let's see. Make sure this is going all right. All right. do a quick. I need to toggle the brakes or else... Nah, static test, screw it. I was gonna say, we're doing a static test, the brakes can be on. That's fine. Alright, let's see. Did I do ignition? Who knows? I think I did with trigger. Flustered. Yeah. Okay. That should be toggle. It is. Okay, good. Spawn that. Still have infinite fuel on, don't I? Yep. Okay. Infinite fuel still on. Let's check that. So I'm curious if the trace gases are keeping it from going. Seems like the trace gases using the stock tanks is being helpful. So, alright. So that is interesting. Okay. So let's kind of do a little bit more of a methodical test here and try to get that so where I can just get the hell out of here and do some stuff. So, all right, we'll start fresh here. All right. Quite curious if that's an issue, if the fact that it's not clean is fouling it, or I could have hooked it up wrong. So let's quickly save this as rocket test 2. All right, I want to open up rocket test 1 and see, did I hook the hydrogen and oxygen up incorrectly, and that's why we're getting boned. Could have been it. Let's check that. I want to see that. So this is the hydrogen side. This is coming in on this side. Let's see. So this should be hydrogen. That's oxygen. All right, I just had that hooked up backwards. That'll be it. All right, that's fine. All right, so that would be the main problem that I had. All right, so it was going on the wrong side. Essentially, it's just porting incorrectly. So that makes sense why that wasn't working. So I just had it flipped. Come on there, silliness. There we go. Cut you like that. Cut you, and then put it, not you. What do I want? This face. Okay, there we go. That would be why. So I was putting hydrogen on the oxygen side and vice versa. All right. That would do it. My brain is not working 100% with having a sickness here. Okay. And we'll double check this here. So this here, what each side of you? You are the oxygen side. I don't know why these didn't disconnect. That's problematic, so we'll fix that. Probably because I have to have the hard point on that side, but that's oxygen on this side. Oxygen comes in here. You better be oxygen. Oxygen. Okay, good. Then hydrogen's the other side. Comes in. Goes on this side. You better be hydrogen. Simple mistake. There we go. Okay. And I want to flip the controls. So AD is so tall it's obnoxious because all the lines pretty much converge at a very tight spot. So Alright, that fixes that. Alright, so let's get going here. What did I do that for? I'm flustered. My brain's not working really well being sick. Alright, let's pump it out. When you're in, so IRL reaction wheels aren't going to do much in atmosphere. In games, they tend to overdo them. Even in Kerbal, the reaction wheels are much stronger than they be IRL, and that's for convenience sake. Again, it's the gamification of it so that you can do more cool stuff. And so, in-game, I would say they're overreactive, so you can use them in the atmosphere more than you would. When you'd really want to use reaction wheels is in the vacuum, because you don't want to be burning up all your RCS. Using up your RCS, that's a consumable resource. So every time if you just want to stay stationary, you would constantly have to pop RCS. With reaction wheels, the reaction wheels, with electricity, you can stay stable. So that's kind of that's kind of part of it. All right, let's check, see where we're at here. All right, so we're getting the gas out. So kind of design-wise, what I want to do when I make an SSTO is there's a couple ways. I used to do some cool Kerbal SSTOs, and so I'll bring up paint and show it. I don't have my old screenshots. Let me see if I can find some old Kerbal screenshots. I don't have many because most of them were saved locally and they're on the PC. So I'll have to grab that file and the folder and see, but let's see. So I don't have a ton of screenshots from Kerbal, but I used to do a lot of cool SSTOs. One of the things I did a lot of, this is an SSTO. These are really old compared to my newer stuff. I'd like to get back into Kerbal at some point. It would be fun. Kerbal 2 is unfortunately a big letdown at the moment. So this is the straddle launcher that I made in Kerbal. So this airplane, it's an airplane. It gets up high and gets up fast, and you want to get as high and as fast as possible. Now in this game, fast could help you if you go up vertical. When you're doing orbital mechanics, essentially what you're trying to do is, in order to stay in orbit, say you need to go 13,000, I don't know, what is it? The hell is it? 13,000 miles an hour, something like that. So the faster you can get before you have to fire off your rockets, the less fuel you have to carry. So something like this small can still go up in orbit and go to the space station, come back, because this is using oxygen from the atmosphere. If not, you have to carry the oxygen, then you have to carry more fuel to carry more oxygen, then you have to carry more oxygen to carry more fuel, and it is an endless, miserable cycle. So straddle launchers are good. These are some of my. This was actually a really efficient period. So this was one of my more efficient straddle launchers. Not straddle launcher. This was an SSTO. So the center body here, right here, is rocket fuel. And underneath there are rocket engines. And then on the sides, you have jet engines. So the jet engines utilize the oxygen in the atmosphere, and they just burn jet fuel. So you're only having to carry 50% of what you need for combustion. So it's much lighter. And then as you're going up, so this was one of my big SSTOs. And so the jets get you up to as high in the air as they can, as fast as they can. And then as they start to become oxygen starved, you fire off your rockets. Now your rockets are getting you moving faster. Your engines can still breathe for a little bit, and then eventually your jets flame out. And it allows you to have something very small that can still do a lot of work, because it, because you're utilizing the oxidizer. So here's an SSTO. You can see here are the rocket engines. These jet engines are what got it up to speed and close enough to save it a lot of fuel. So that's kind of the whole concept of an SSTO, and that really helps you to be efficient. So here's another SSTO. This was just a drone SSTO. Again, you can see jet engines and a rocket. So that's what I'm ideally looking for. So I might do a vertical SSTO. I might do that. Like, this was a really big cargo SSTO. Kind of goofy, but yeah, you can make them. Like, this was one of my favorite vehicles of all time that I made. It was so super duper efficient in Kerbal. It was really good. And I used to have a policy that, like, for example, you can kind of do it like in Stormworks. You can recall back to the workbench and then launch again. I had a period in Kerbal where I only... So, like, you can see this is a big gantry. So I build these gantries, and this thing would come in and it would land vertically over here. And then I would take the gantry, I'd go pick it up. I would literally refuel it with a tank and then send it again. So I would never pull it back in the workbench. So everything was always reused. And so that was kind of a cool thing. So that was some really neat engineering things you had to do there to make that work. But that was one of my favorite craft of all time in Kerbal. Then they made it a little bit more realistic where, for example, like here's a picture of one of my smaller SSTOs. You know, and so it was a cool period in Kerbal, and then they made it a little bit more realistic, which again I'm for, but like here's one of them. And so because they made it more realistic, so like you see all these intakes, I have a ton of intakes. So you used to be able to spam intakes on your jets and get more air in there, and that would allow you to get up to higher altitudes. And then they made it more realistic where you couldn't spam them anymore. So like eventually you could only get to a certain amount of oxygen going into the engine, which makes sense. That's realistic. But it made it so that a lot of this stuff wouldn't work anymore. So like here's a cool one. So this was even like the level of realism I was going for was the way. So I manually would load myself in there because you can recall the vehicle back to the workbench and then spawn it with your character in it. So I went to the insane level of where I'd literally crawl up the staircase and then go into my ship, and then it would lower it down to the pad. Then this would drive away, and that was the level of craziness I was doing. But it was a lot of fun. So eventually I like to do some Kerbal, but it's Kerbal 2 is kind of a mess. So all right, so let's go. I might do a vertical SSTO. That could be really cool to do a lot of this testing. Because, so, like, for example, let's say this rocket can get to the moon. All right, let's say this has all the fuel it needs to get to the moon. If it was an SSTO with using jet engines, it might need to be a third as tall. Because so much of this fuel and oxygen, and this game's probably not simulating the real thick atmosphere that much. Like, Kerbal, was more realistic in that sense. So, like, you literally could have a vehicle as small as the ones I was showing you that would be, as big as a Saturn V IRL, because you need all that extra fuel and oxidizer just to get through the thickest part of the atmosphere, where the jets are thriving because all you need to carry is jet fuel. So let's see. Need to check on this, and then we'll go for a quick flight, and then I think I'm going to re-engineer. So it was a simple just connection issue. I had oxygen going the wrong way. Because my COVID brain at the moment. All right. All right, let's get off this, John. Let's pump some air in it. And I'm just going to do a simple static vertical test. I want to go as high as I can vertically. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm trying to get a notion of what the delta V is going to be. We don't get an accurate, relationship with delta V. I was talking about what delta V is. Delta V is how much delta change V velocity. So how much change in velocity do I need to be able to go from here to the moon? Now, that gets more complicated when you realize, let's say you get up to 2,000 meters per second. So let's say you get up to 2,000 meters per second, but to land on the moon, you now have to slow down to 0. So that means you need to get up to 2,000 meters per second. Then you need to slow down 2,000 meters per second, right? So that allows you to actually get on the moon. And so that means you need 4,000 delta V. All right, and then let's say you want to get back to Earth. Okay, so that means you need to accelerate back up to 2,000 meters per second. So now you're talking 6,000 delta V. And then you need to worry about slowing down. Now, the benefit is, like a lot of people have misconceptions, like, oh my God, the Godzilla movies. I love Godzilla, but I can't stand Fat American Godzilla. I love Shin Godzilla. And in one of the stupid Fat American Godzilla movies, he goes up to, like, I don't know, like, straight up, like, he doesn't go up that high, but he's like, say he's at 60 or 70,000 feet, and he drops straight down, and he starts getting re-entry effects where, like, he's heating like he's a space shuttle. The way that orbital mechanics work, we'll talk about this. This is going to take a minute for this to fill. So we'll talk a little orbital mechanics and how things actually work, because I find it interesting. So let's do it. And you may as well. All right, so, you know, think about the Earth. Let's find, let's see. What color do we want the Earth to be? Light blue, that makes sense. All right, so here is the Earth. All right, there's the Earth. And so essentially what you're trying to do when you're doing orbital mechanics is... So, like, the re-entry effects. Why are the re-entry effects? Re-entry effects are pretty much for fuel efficiency. That's really, you know, if you were to put it into a couple words, what are re-entry effects? Why do you get re-entry effects? It's for fuel efficiency. You could come back to the Earth without having any re-entry effects. And that's all the heating issues that we have, you know, that they have when they come back. So there's the moon. Okay. So to get to the moon, you're going to take off. You're going to want to take off at the equator because that's the fastest part, right? The thickest part of the Earth, right? So if you think about it, you get a little pointer here. So this part of the Earth, the pole, if I could actually make it big enough you could see it. So this part of the Earth, the pole, right? The poles, they don't have a big diameter, right? There's not a lot of diameter there. The equator has the biggest diameter, right? Of course. And so this rotates at the same rate as this. So if this is rotating the same rate, by definition, this has to be going faster because this whole distance has to cover the same distance. This whole distance travels in the same amount of time as this. So this goes around at this rate. Well, this is still going around at this rate, but it's much bigger. It has a larger diameter. So this is, by definition, going faster. So that's why, you know, they want to launch rockets as close to the equator as they can. You know, that's why you get a bunch of Florida launches. And so the Earth is fastest here. And so what's happening is we are all, if you're standing on the equator, you're moving faster here than if you were at the pole. And if you're on the tippity-top perfect on the pole, relatively, you're moving incredibly slowly because, you know, you could stand on the like the very North Pole, you know, exactly where it is, and just stand there, and your rate of turn would be, you know, a day. Here, you know, you have to go a much further distance to get 1 day. You know, you could literally just stand on the North Pole and kind of shuffle your feet and do a rotation, right, a complete rotation. And so you launch from here, and as you're coming up, you need your delta V. So you're going to take off, and and ideally you want to go in the direction the Earth is turning. So Earth is turning this direction, so it's going towards the east, essentially. So the Earth's going this direction, so you want to go this direction, because if you try going this direction, the Earth is pushing you this way. And so what you need to do is, let's say the Earth's moving at 13,000 miles an hour this direction. Well, now you need to cancel out 13,000 miles an hour to go this way. And so that's very fuel inefficient. So what you want to do is you want to launch to the east, because the Earth is already throwing you at 13,000 miles an hour, and you come out, and what you do is you need to accelerate, and so you keep accelerating, you come up to the moon, and then you're going to come around the moon in a gravity turn, you come back, and you want to land on the Earth. Okay, so why do we have re-entry effects? This requires a lot of fuel to do that, right? And so especially when you get towards your last stage, you don't have a ton of fuel. So what you want to do is you want to do what's known as aerobraking. Now, if you land on the moon, you can't aerobrake. So let's say you're going 2,000 meters per second as you approach the moon. If you want to land on the moon, you now need to subtract 2,000 meters per second. So you just used all of this energy and fuel to get up to 2,000 meters per second. You want to land on the moon, you now have to cancel out 2,000 meters per second, or you're going to smash into the moon to get to 0 meters per second. So you are putting your rocket facing backwards, you're slowing down, bingo, you land on the moon. Coming into the Earth, you have the benefit of the thick atmosphere. So as you come in, you slam into the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is giving you friction, and that is slowing you down. Now, the friction is what causes the heat, why, you know, you get those re-entry effects, all that heat. Now, you don't need that heat, theoretically. If we had super duper ultra efficient engines, and I've actually done this a bunch in Kerbal, for example, what you can do is you now point your spacecraft the opposite direction. So let's get a spacecraft color here. So you take your spacecraft and you point your spaceship this way with the engine that way. That looks like a penis, I know. All spacecraft do. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to fire off your engines this way. So that's retro thrust. So thrust opposite to the direction you're going. So you're doing retro thrust and you're slowing down. Now, if you remember, we fall at 9.8 meters per second. So if you start to slow down anyway. So what's going to happen is, try to talk real quick orbit. Sorry. A little bit, it's a complicated topic, so we'll, let me open up a new one here, and we'll talk a little bit of orbit stuff. We'll go right into reentry here. So if you understand how an orbit works, it's a little bit helpful understanding how some of the stuff works. So a little bit complicated, but we didn't wait for that to work anyway. So let's go do. Okay. All right, so there's the Earth. And so we want to do an orbit around the Earth. So we're actually, let's say we're looking at the North Pole. So this is the North Pole right here. So we're actually looking top down at the Earth. So what we're doing is, again, we're going to take off from the equator. So again, this is the North Pole right here. We'll put an N there for the North. North Pole's right there. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about the little bit of orbital mechanics. So we come up, and we're going to take off from the equator here, and we're going to come up. Now, what's going to happen is, let's say we've fired a rocket for a little bit and we stopped it. What's going to happen is the rocket's going to fall back to Earth because of gravity. All right. So what you need to do is you need to constantly fall at a certain rate in order to stay in orbit. So you're falling at the same rate that the Earth is rotating, essentially. So what you do is, it's called circularization. So the first thing you do is you fire up and you get up and you get up here. All right. And so your arc is going to look like this. So you're going to have an arc. And this is how it works in Kerbal. Kerbal is really good at kind of showing this. And so you're going to have an arc. It's going to go from your craft, and it's going to look like this. And that's, if you did not fire engines again, you would come and you'd crash down and you'd hit here. And so once you get up above the atmosphere, what you want to do is you want to start to do a prograde burn. So you start firing in the direction of your orbit, essentially. So you're going to do a prograde burn, and retrograde, again, is backwards. You're going to do a prograde burn, and you're going to fire it. What's going to happen is you're going to get what's known as circularizations. You're going to fire it, and as you do that, this part of this circle is going to come out. And eventually, that circle is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until it looks like this orbit. Now, to slow down and come back in the atmosphere, you need to do a retrograde burn. So again, you need to take your aircraft, or your spacecraft, and you need, black's not going to work now. So here's your spacecraft, and what you want to do is you want to fire your engines this way. So your engines go retrograde, and what's going to happen is this orbit is going to start to shrink in. And so it's going to shrink and shrink and shrink. Let's grab a Raisha. So what's going to happen is this orbit will now start to shrink. And so you're firing retrograde, and it's going to do what this green is doing. So it's going to start to shrink that orbit up. And so you'll notice that the orbit will get small, and eventually, if green is where we want to land right there, we've now gone retrograde, and we've slowed down. Now, this requires a ton of fuel. If you're going 2,000 meters per second, you need to do 2,000 meters per second of thrust to essentially stop. And you can do that. That's actually would cause very few to any sort of reentry effects. The problem is, generally, especially with the engines we have, the technology we have, we're not going to be able to do that. So what do? You use the atmosphere of Earth to help you slow down. So what you do is you say, okay, we're going to land here. And now what's going to happen is the rocket is going to go into the atmosphere. The air is going to hit the rocket, cause a lot of friction, a lot of heat. But that air is going to act like a brake. That's aero braking, and so that's going to slow you down. Now, there's another way you could do all of this where you essentially would get almost no reentry effects, because what the reentry effects are essentially the friction of the air. Now, I think we've all dropped at 9.8 meters per second, right? We've all just jumped and we've fallen at 9.8 meters per second before. So that's what you can do as well. So you line your rocket up. Why this isn't painting, I don't know, because I'm on a race still. Okay. So here's your rocket again. And what we're going to do is we're going to fire retrograde. God damn, do give me orange. There we go. Okay. So there, we're going to fire a rocket. And what we're going to do this time is if we're going 2,000 meters per second, we're going to fire our rockets and we're going to completely delete all velocity. We're going to fire off 2,000 delta V and we're going to completely slow down to 0. Now what it's going to look like is our new trajectory is going to be this. So if you look at your trajectory, going to green, now your trajectory is going to look like this. This is a ballistic trajectory. Straight up, straight down. So you're going to fall back to the Earth at about 9.8 meters per second. You're going to come down at terminal velocity. And because of that, you're going to get 0, if you're coming in at 9.8 meters per second, you're not really going to heat very much because the friction's not that much because you're not going that fast. When the spacecraft crash into the atmosphere, like I said, they're going like 2,000 meters per second. So that's a lot of friction. That's a lot of speed. That's a lot of something has to, the energy has to go somewhere, and the energy goes into the form of heat. What we've done is we've used our rocket to slow down to 0, and now all that energy is gone. So as we come through the atmosphere, there's very little friction. So now we're falling at terminal velocity, like 9.8 meters per second. We're not coming in that fast. And so there's literally 0 heating. So there are things I did in Kerbal where you can get it, like if you're having problems in Kerbal where you're blowing up all the time, you can actually get it where if you can get your velocity to 0, you won't get barely any heating. You'll get a little bit because you'll accelerate again as you come down. But for the most part, you're not going to get much to any heating. And so we don't have to really worry about it in this game, but that's kind of some cool things you can do there for reentry. Let's quickly try to get a launch off this sucker. Alright, so that was just me having an issue with the way I was setting up the hydrogen oxygen. We're not going plumbed correctly. Alright, so all I'm doing in this test here is I'm going to go and I'm going to try to go straight up. I want to see where we get to. So I have some notion of, I should put an altimeter on this one, but we're going to go right into an SSTO. So I'm just trying to see scale-wise. Like I said, in Kerbal, you can, using some tools, you can see how much delta V you need. And that delta V is helpful to know. Again, if I know, in order to get to my space station, I might need 1,500 delta V. If my rocket is showing 1,300 delta V, I don't have enough delta V to get to my space station. So I need to add 200 delta V. If I want to get to the moon, it's 2,000 delta V. I need to add, another 500 delta V to get to my space station. So that's convenient. So I'm trying to get some notion of how much I need in order to be able to just start to do this. Now, right now we're burning hydrogen and oxygen to get through this atmosphere. That is incredibly inefficient. Ideally, what we want to do is I'm going to turn this into an SSTO where what I'm burning is jet fuel and atmosphere. And I don't have to carry the atmosphere, so that's very light. And so what we'll do is I will use jets to get up as high as possible and as fast as possible. And then as soon as we get to the point where the jet engines don't work anymore, then we fire a rocket. So that would be as though I'm taking off from, say, 40,000 feet in the air. And so that's going to be ultra efficient because I don't need to carry any hydrogen or oxygen to get me to 40. I just need to carry enough hydrogen and oxygen to get me from 40 up. And once we get in the vacuum of space, there's no air resistance there, so you become much more efficient. You're burning a lot less hydrogen and oxygen. Are we going back down? I can't tell. We are. Are we going back down? Looks like it. Yep. All right, so I want to kind of actually try to build a little bit. We got a little bit going here, so that's good. I'll read some chat here. Oh, that's always nice when the neighbors, when they chop your internet. I'm feeling all right. Feeling a little bit better, but some of me is worse, some of me is better. I had a headache all day yesterday. I don't have the headache today, which is nice. All right, so we're going to start working on a new rocket here. I want to go right into SSTO. That was a good little bit of nostalgia going back into Kerbal and seeing some of my original SSTOs. That really kind of inspired me to go right to that because, unfortunately, I was thinking of building this really big, huge SSTO that, and like it was starting to give me anxiety because of like how much work just like the cockpit was going to be. And so this is going to be a little bit more on the simpler side so that I can hopefully not have to worry about that too much. And then we can move on from there. Like, I just want to make a vessel to go up and do stuff. All right, so let's go. Okay, let's see. I don't know how small I can go. You know, I don't know what people have been doing for size-wise. What's that? Is that huge? Yeah, that's large. Smalls are here. Let's run a small, see what we can do. Okay. All right, let's start with the small. Let's cut this again. I'm going to rotate it sideways. I'll make it a little bit easier. Okay. And I just want to make something kind of... I want to do a proof of concept again. That's going to help me do some of these things. Keep it simple and we'll try to make it work here. You don't want to overcomplicate this to start with, and then we can move on from there. I don't want to, you know, I really want to avoid making a shell that I really like, and then it doesn't work. So I want to kind of be careful in doing that. Okay. Where the hell are my nodes? Right there. Okay, let's actually rotate that again. There we go. So we're going to make this simple. I want to make an SSTO. And I should be able to get the efficiencies up using jet engines for part of the trip. That's going to, should be a big efficiency savings there. You know, so kind of one thing to think about too is, again, what is the strength of this game? What is the strength of Kerbal? That was like, people like, you know, if I want to do space, I play Kerbal, and that's fine. But it's a different game. You know, it's a different point. The point of Kerbal is orbital mechanics. If you don't like orbital mechanics, then don't play Kerbal. You know, if you don't like having to figure out some of those, you know, more complex things like orbital mechanics, that's not the game for you. You know, and that's kind of what some people were missing with that is the difference, is this is a building game. If you like the building, then this is it. If, you know, you want to do orbital mechanics, like you know, this has reignited some interest in Kerbal to go do some orbital mechanics, then that would be where I'd want to play for that. But for the building and the crafting and making a craft look the way you want, making the cockpit operate the way you want, putting in cool things like maybe carrying a vehicle, that is more what this game is. So it's, you kind of play to the strengths of what you're doing. All right, so next thing, let's get some jet. I want proof of concept here, so we're not going to really make this very... we're not going to really make this complicated. We're going to try to keep it as simple as humanly possible. And then once the proof of concept works or it fails, you know, one or the other, I would, of course, like it to work more than I like it to fail, but if it fails, we know, okay, well, that's not going to work. We need to come up with a different idea. I don't want to make it look pretty and then realize none of it's going to work. That is pretty miserable when that happens. All right, let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna... Let's take off symmetry real quick. I'm just gonna end up duplicating this anyways. It's gonna move. That's a small one. Trying to think if I want a ducted fan or not. I'm kind of leaning towards a no at the moment. Let's go with this for now. Try to keep this simple. Ducted fans are going to be probably most efficient, but that will be later. That'll be a later problem. Oh, we're looking for gaps on there. Good. Okay. So ideally what you want to do too in rocketry is you want to burn from top to bottom. And that's going to get your center of gravity lower and lower and lower. And so that's ideally what you want. So we're going to put jet fuel is going to go up top. And then because we don't want to have a ton left. And then when we get back in the atmosphere, that's when we want to actually switch back to our jets. Because again, you're having to carry all the oxidizer with you, which is really expensive from an efficiency standpoint. You're having to carry all that weight, and so you need a lot of thrust just to carry the weight, and so that is pretty wasteful. So you ideally want to, that's why you'll do like asparagus staging, where you're shedding your stages. So what you essentially do with asparagus staging is the middle engines are feeding off of the side engines' fuel, and then the sides are going off once the exterior tanks are gone. So then the center tank is still 100% full of fuel. So you're shedding the exterior tanks as soon as possible. Let's see. Alright, so this is going to be jet engines to get us up as high as possible. Then the rockets are going to kick in at some point. So I'm going to put in a jet controller, which is kind of blah. I'm going to find one that I like to work. I think it's actually, I'll make a quick one. It shouldn't take long to make one. Let's hope this is the right way. Okay. Sticky that. All right. All right, we'll get a quick jet engine controller in here. Try to just bang one out real fast. They're pretty simple, so. Definitely going to be more efficient to use ducted fans, but I'll grab some engines off something later. Just want to kind of see what we can do here. So I'm going to put an altimeter on this too. We'll see, because that's kind of an important thing to know. So how are we going to know? So the point is essentially it's as though we're putting a platform high up in the altitude, up in the air, so that we don't have to, spend so much fuel to get up there. I don't want that. 0.1's good. Okay. Actually, I don't want that on like that. Let's do 5, I think. All right, 5 will turn that on. Okay. Okay. Let's play with that. So let's label this so I don't forget. 5 needs to be toggle. That's turbines. Turbines. On/off. Okay, toggle that. Alright, so 1 and 2 are going to be the controls for that, so I need to fix those. 1 is going to be push. That's turbine thrust plus minus. Okay. Up down is going to be rocket thrust. Rocket thrust. Alright. Let's see. Trigger is going to be to light that off. And that needs to do the pumps as well. Alright. And we're not going to have any sort of control yet because we need some sort of control surfaces. So we're going to put those in really quickly. I have to play with these to see what they're going to look like here in a second. Roll. We're not going to worry about roll profile at the moment. So we're Where is WS? WS is going to be these. We'll play with these fins and get that fixed up as well. Yaw is all we really care about now. Left, right is going to be yaw. Which means one of these should be inverted. Probably the wrong one I'm grabbing, but we'll figure it out in a second. Alright, check some chat here. Yeah, we'll see you there later there, FS. Trying to catch back up. How's it going there, Rasmus? Yeah, it'd be cool to have some ablative stuff. The problem is if you're doing a ballistic trajectory, essentially what you'd have to do is, I think they pretty much precluded it with the speeds they have in game. Like, if they did it over 100 meters per second, you started getting reentry effects, that would make sense because they put a cap in there, but then would that make it so that jets start having ablative effects and people get them going really fast? When people complain about that, I can see some of that being problematic. But yeah, it'd be kind of cool. And especially seeing we're essentially doing a ballistic trajectory coming back in. As long as you slow down, you wouldn't get that. So are they going to get all that right? That's the kind of stuff that I'm just not sure about. But yeah, it'd be cool if they could do it right. Yeah, that's what I talked about asparagus staging before. That's what that is. My favorite band is Gunship. Yes. Yep, I know about the pressure sensor. All right, let's do some tests here. Hopefully this doesn't tip over so I can just do my tests without having to friggin' hook it up to the bench. Okay, so just checking fins right now. So I'm trying to pitch my nose up, which is pushing the tail down, which will pitch my nose up. That is mercifully the correct direction. Me yaw. Try to yaw to the... why do I have... That would twist me. Oh, yeah, I just said I wasn't going to worry about roll profile, and now I'm working on roll profile. Why am I doing that? I'm going to work with just yaw for now. So we'll screw the roll profile for right now. I'm not going to worry about it. Hopefully we don't need it. Should be able to just do pitch yaw. All right, so let's check that again. I need to check yaw again because I changed my mind halfway through and changed again. All right. So we need to check yaw. Okay, yaw. I want to go to the right. That is backwards. So those both are backwards. All right, we'll fix those. B, return me to the workbench so I can continue my good works, please. Thank you. All right, so these need to be inverted on the roll, on the yaw axis. Let's see what's that one doing. Yep, hollow on that side. Copy. All right. Alright, are we all hooked up engine-wise? I believe we are. Alright, let's see if we can get a merciful flight out of this. What is it, 5 that I have? I think it is 5. Let's make sure that is toggled and correct. 5 looks good. 1 and 2 are my thrust. Those look good. Let me double check the micro, make sure that is all set up. So 1 and 2 is going to be my jet thrust, 1 and 2. 3 to 60, enabled. Might be a little bit low on that. So what's that going to take? 100 presses per RPS. That might be a little low. That's all right. That should be fine. That's a 10th, not a 100th. I misread the gap. P-value. Probably could use a P-value. It's not going to do anything. Luckily, this one I can usually just run a 1 and we're in business. All right. Let's take this, update that. Let's see if we can't fly the SSTO, at least get it going. I do enjoy vertical SSTO. Alright, so let's Let's go ahead and what's my start on this? 5. I can't read any of them. I'm gonna put some dials. I need some dials, or else I'm gonna not be able to test things. I also need an altimeter on here, so I know what the hell I'm doing with that. All right, let's get rid of you. Okay, good. Ugh. It's an attitude indicator, but also known as an artificial horizon, and they only put it as artificial horizon, so I have to always search for it 3 times to find what I want. All right, do this. All right, so first thing I want is I want the RPS of the turbine. Turbine. RPS, bingo. Okay, good. Let's see, what else do I need here? Phenomena. I need a altimeter. 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 And that's really what I care about at the moment. So let's run with that for now. Need about 2.5 to get a spool. Is it 2.5 for a spool? No, it should be, what is it? I think it's 0.5, isn't it? I can't remember. I usually switch them to a different unit, so. Temp, RPS, air pressure. Did I plumb these up correctly? I think I did. Combustion chambers, getting fuel. I didn't change them to jet fuel. They're trying to push diesel through. That would be why. It's like, why are these not lighting off? There we go. Jet fuel. I think it's 0.5. I can't remember. I had them set up for. I converted them to NP, and I think 2.5 is what I had in NP. So that would be why. I think it's converted to NP. How's it going there, Daniel? Yes, I do know about the pressure sensor. That would probably be why didn't want to light off. I think it's 0.5. Yeah, it's funny that like you get people like I've seen them a bunch on Reddit and stuff, and they add electric motors to the jet engines to start them up faster, and it's like this starts a hell of a lot faster than they start IRL. It's like I don't know, just I have a different level of patience than some, but you know, the nice thing is again you can build whatever you want. So if it bugs you that things start up slower, you can fix it so it doesn't. But I just think it's kind of interesting that people that impatient they just wait for their engine to start. All right, there we go. We're lit. Pressing the wrong buttons. There we go. Okay. So this is the benefit of a straddle launcher is or SSTO. Frankly, this isn't really a straddle launcher, but you know I'm using all jet engines up to this point, and so this is going to allow me to. Like right now I'm using 0 hydrogen, I'm using 0 oxygen. I need more pitch, but, and so this is going to allow me to get way the hell up here, currently at 12,000 feet, or 12,000 meters, so that's even better. And that's allowing me to get up very high, and I have burned 0 hydrogen oxygen, so the rocket can greatly shrink by doing it this way. Okay. what the hell am I doing here? If I press the right button, we're being great shape here. So, like, we're still on jet engines here, and I have yet to have to switch over. So I'm going to thrust up here. You know, and of course, IRL, this would be big because of the thickness of the atmosphere. We don't have to worry as much in game, I have a feeling, as IRL. But the thickness of the atmosphere in game, really, you know, in real life, this would really be beneficial. So we're at like 60,000 feet here, and my friggin' engine's not. I didn't fix my other engines, so we're good. But that's a good proof of concept to get us up there, at least. Like, see, this is actually going to be an interesting way. There's some cool things we could do with ballistic trajectories. So, like, essentially a ballistic trajectory is kind of like how a ballistic missile works. It flies up and it goes down. And so it would be kind of neat to do container delivery with a rocket, you know, because you would just go ballistic trajectory up and come right back down. And so you need the fuel for all the way up there, and then you let it glide down and you can land. You know, not really glide's not really the right word, but all right, so that proof of concept working. I don't think I switched these tanks. They're both air tanks. That would be. I thought I didn't hook those up yet, so we didn't get to that stage, but that was a good test for so far. What's that? You are hydrogen. Hydrogen, oxygen. So hydrogen, ox. Okay, there we go. We have hydrolox going in there. All right, so let's go ahead, and I don't have enough pitch authority because my pitch is running out. So that's another thing some people don't get, is eventually you're going to get the point where your pitch is no longer, you don't have enough control surface to control your pitch. And so generally at that point what you need to do is just add more control surfaces. And so that's all I'm doing here is I'm putting another set of pitch fins up top. Where's WS? WS right there. Check WS. Why is WS on so many things? Okay, WS is in the bell too, so that's fine. WS now can go to here as well. All right, so you know we were fine in the other in the yaw axis. We were having issues with the pitch axis. So the pitch is fixed. Let me see. Making an SSTO at the moment. Yep. So the point is to get this as compact and as small as possible. And what this should be able to do is it's single stage to orbit. I shouldn't have to drop any parts. And so this should go from the Earth to orbit. Now, like, it's funny, the way I played Kerbal was completely different from my brother. My brother would go to like every far-flung planet like Jewel, which is Jupiter, and he'd go like to Lathe and all these other planets. I never left the moon. The moon was as far as I'd go. And because my kind of what I enjoy doing is actually, it's like, you know, some of the people who are already asking for more planets and stuff, that's cool. I'm more like the things that interest me are getting things very efficient and small and compact and being able to get from here to the orbit. Putting up satellites is interesting to me. I like that a little bit more than like some of the further flung stuff. Like one thing that I probably would do is like I don't want to make a huge rocket personally to go from the Earth to the moon. I don't want to do it. What I want to do, I want to build an SSTO that goes from the Earth to a space station at geosync orbit. Then what I would do is I'd have a specialized craft that is much more specialized to go from the space station to the moon. And then I would have a craft on that that then goes from the moon, or that, you know, probably this game I can't really orbit the moon, but then that craft would go from the space station, go down and land on the moon. So that would be two craft, and you'd have an intermediary area in a station. So that's kind of how I operate. All right, let's go ahead, and I think we're good to go now that this is actually fueled. Let me check it. Trigger on that, that's good. Throttle is still up, down. Okay, make sure up, down is sticky, up, down, sticky. Okay, let's take another flight here. Let me read some chat here. Tend to make it so the engines spin up slower, preferably. Yeah, like the way, I forget how many seconds it takes, but it takes a while to get a turbine to spin up because, you know, you're having to suck in air and then get it to compress, and then it lights off and then it spools up. Like, for example, we couldn't take off until the turbine had been up for a minute. So, like, you know, we would start the engine, we'd have to wait a minute regardless. Alright, let's let that spool for a sec. And this is with no gyro, too. With a gyro, this is going to be a lot more stable. But you notice we're already rocketing off like crazy. You know, we're not rocketing anywhere. We're jetting off. We're jetting off like crazy. And we have burned no hydrogen or oxygen. This is what the benefit of a system like this is, you know, we're burning up jet fuel, but you can see with this, ooh, a little touchy there. With this, I was able to get to, very touchy. I was able to get to, what was it, like, I think I was up to 30,000 meters, you know, so 60,000 feet essentially before I, you know, turned on the, you know, was going to turn on the rocket engine. And so that is all savings there for fuel. And so that really lets you get your vehicle slowed down. The issue IRL is, like, straddle launchers are very efficient. Okay, so now the atmosphere is getting very thin. So I need my rocket engine to be able to steer. So we're going to probably have problems here. But, there we go. All right, I got control of it. So the actual, the control fins are going to lose effectiveness because of the fact that I don't have enough atmosphere to work them. What the fuck is going on here now? I can't fly from third person anyway, but I have no sense of direction when I'm in third person. So I have a control problem here. So often if you put the pitch fins on either side, it likes to flip, so that's an issue with that. I don't have infinite fuel on, do I? No, okay. So we're doing pretty good. So that's about 80,000 feet. Now the turbines should be gone by now, they're not. So I will artificially stop them, but you look, like, we still have a lot of fuel left, so this should be ultra fuel efficient, so I'm going to kill my turbines. So turbines are off now. And we're just pissing off on rockets. Actually on a third person. So like this altitude, you wouldn't have enough oxygen in the atmosphere. Like literally what they're doing IRL when they're testing out straddle launchers, like conceptually, is they're compressing the air to such a degree that they're liquefying the atmosphere. And so they're liquefying the atmosphere to get enough density to be able to run the rockets at very high altitudes. And so at super high, so they're essentially doing cryogenic, they're compressing and trying to get cryogenic, essentially liquid atmosphere to be able to make it even work. So I'm not sure how much hydrogen and oxygen we have in here, but as you can see, we got quite a ways before we even needed to use it, so that really shrinks the amount of hydrogen and oxygen we need. Is it going to be enough? Who knows, but I think this is super cool. I understand some of the people who, like, you know, weren't interested in space DLC, but again, guess what? Don't buy it. You know, it's, I wasn't super, like I didn't have a, like, dying need to come play with space, but I'm starting to get bitten by the bug a little bit, and that's kind of why I wasn't touching it for, you know, a little while there, is, you know, kind of forcing yourself to do something in game isn't all that fun. It's like, it's better to kind of, when you're feeling it, play it. When you're not, don't, you know? I don't know. Like, if you're gonna orbit the moon IRL, you do a circular burn. I might boot up Kerbal at some point and kind of do a little Kerbal. It would be fun. But like, you know, again, that's a game that's very much orbital mechanics. That if you're interested in orbital mechanics, that's the game for you. And it's like, you know, this game, you can put the orbital mechanics in here, but then you'd have people have to learn all the engineering stuff of how to make their craft, and then they have to learn orbital mechanics, and that's, you know, that's a lot to learn. You know, but, you know, and if you want that orbital mechanics, you play, you know, Kerbal. I get that. You know, it's like Space Engineers is ultra simple. Space Engineers is like, you put a battery on your build, everything's powered. And there was a contingent of the player base for Stormworks who wishes the game would go in that direction. I'm glad it doesn't, because there's plenty of those games where, like I was talking yesterday, you just put a propeller on it. It doesn't matter where you put it. It just works. This is more of a, like, you actually have to get the systems right. And you start to learn, why do aircraft look the way they do? Why do spacecraft look the way they do? Like, for example, if you put an asymmetrical thrust on your spacecraft, you'd be in deep shit, because center of thrust affects the center of gravity. I don't know if I'm even climbing now. I need an astronomical sensor, but our engine still sounds like it's going. So I don't even know. There's the moon. So we're still going, man. I don't know. Do I get, if I go on the map, do I get a... I don't get a, I still don't see me yet. So let's see if... I don't get an altitude. I should put the astronomical sensor on there. Yeah, see, I need to put that on there just to know, but I assume we're going up, but I don't know. I'm going to keep burning until we run out. Yep, eventually I'll get into this, like, I'll have to pull some screenshots. Like, I probably have 1,000 screenshots from Kerbal. Maybe I don't think I've installed. I was meaning to reinstall Kerbal. Let's see if it'll let me do it while I'm playing this. Probably not. Like, the whole game's only 4 gigs. Get on there, Kerbal. Kerbal 2 is really pissing a lot of people off. It's kind of, it's a drag for me. They're doing some silly bullshit. Like, that's kind of, like, again, to put it into perspective, like, with this game and how, like, people were going bug wild, losing their mind over, like, literally, it has not been a week since the DLC has come out. Most stuff is figured out and fixed. There are still some issues here and there. The devs did it in a good way. They went with the most the things that were bothering the community the most. They went first. Like, one of the reason cloud error, Kerbal. Let's see, why is that? No, don't do Kerbal Space Program 2. Stop that. They fixed the issues that were most important to people first, that were most game breaking, which is the way they should have done it. And so, like, right now we're having some issues, I guess, with some of the Steam stuff. And I find some of the Steam stuff interesting, but it is definitely, I think, a little bit more niche, some of the Steam stuff. And especially because it's very large. So, I think, that's probably why that's some of the last thing they're doing is working on Steam. I would say the workarounds, like, if they had left it, the ship stuff, as last, people would have to completely rebuild their ships to just have a ship. And so that was, of course, the most important one to get done first, and then, so I think the Steam one should be fixed reasonably soon. Like, thinking about why that stuff's happening, I think it's because it's spawning in incredibly high atmospheric pressure air into everywhere. And so, I think it should be reasonably easy to say, for example, I was talking yesterday, like these fuel tanks for the jets, they have a ton of air in them. Let's see if I can see it. I think I'm going back down now. Like right now, we're at 3 atmospheres. We have 509 liters of jet fuel, and we have, look at all that oxygen, nitrogen. We have, a tank pressure of 3 atmospheres in there. So that is all, like, we shouldn't have any air in there when the tanks are 100%. Now, we do need air as it goes down, but, it would fill it to 1 atmosphere. And so that is currently the problem. Is you imagine steam is essentially just another gas. We definitely are going down now. Oh, that looks like the atmosphere. You can see the corona of the atmosphere. Interesting. And so that sort of thing is very interesting to understand. And so likely, I think they could probably fix a lot of the resultant problems if they just said, okay, air will spawn in the remaining volume at 1 atmosphere. So if you have a tank that's 100 liters, it spawns up with 50%. So now you're at 50 liters liquid, which is non-compressible, 50 liters of gas at 1 atmosphere. And so it would only fill 50 liters of gas because the gas is assumed to be at 1 atmosphere. And so that would, I think, fix a lot of problems. steam is at very high pressure, and so it easily overcomes any air that's in there because the steam's at high pressure and the air is at 1 atmosphere. The problem is the air is at 60 atmospheres and the steam is coming in and there's no way. So like for example, this thing I used barely any jet fuel to get up there and we have a lot of jet fuel. So like things to add on this like RCS. I don't know how much let's see what we have in here. So let's try to hyperpressurize our gas tanks. So let's do that. And I don't think I need this much jet fuel, but we're going to keep it. And the reason is this. This will allow us to come back down and land on the planet. And so when we get back into the atmosphere, we want to shut off our rockets, and we want to turn our jets back on. And the jets will help bring us back to the atmosphere. So we want to use those again because we don't have to carry the oxidizer. That's the big thing is not carrying oxidizer if we don't have to. So let's go. Let's try, we'll just do a doubling right now. Okay. And then where are we at here? So right here we could do a port. Let's go like this. And so what I can do is we can get, somebody was saying up to 250 atmospheres we can pump up these tanks to, and right now they're at 60. So, that was a lot of people the first day were having confusion with why, it's a 100-liter tank. Why is it holding 700 liters of gas? This makes no sense. It makes perfect sense if you understand that is that is assuming at 1 atmosphere. If you're at 60 atmospheres, you have 60 liters of gas in there. If you have, so that's kind of, and so people are starting to get that now, but that was the first confusion people are having was that, it's 1 atmosphere is where it was at, if you have a liter of air in a tank in a 1 liter bottle, that's 1 liter of atmosphere. If you have a liter of air at 2 atmospheres, that's actually 2 liters of air in there. So that was a little confusion some people are having day one. Okay, fluid out's good. Let's see. I hate it when these things, I can't see them unless I paint them. There we go. Put one-way valves on there. Get out of here, devil. Come on. Okay. All right, what are you? You are hydrogen. You are oxygen. I didn't have symmetry on for this. Not the end of the world, but it's obnoxious. Okay. How did that get fucked up? Because I moved it. It's one off. Okay. Just one off. There we go. All right. All right, so we're going to try to pressurize these up and get as much stuffed in there as possible. Part of the issue I was having too was the pitch fins are not being ultra stable. So what I'm going to do is delete these off. Sometimes when you try to round steer, it can induce some real instability. It's not the best way to be pitching. You really don't want to be round steering on things with pitch if you can avoid it. So it's better to put symmetry on too. So adding more control surface, will do it like this for pitch control. I end up just putting bigger pitch fins on it, but I'm going to try to do as little to no RCS as humanly possible at the moment, because I don't want to have to carry anything compressed to simulate monopropellant yet. I'm going to put a Astro on here so I can read that. All right. And I hooked the throttles up to pump in there. I think I did. Yep. All right. Let's see. Let's try to pressurize these up, get as much hydrogen oxygen in there. Yeah, you know, I keep seeing like, it's like on a daily basis, I see people like, oh, the aerodynamics suck. I'm like, dude, I have a reasonable background in aerodynamics. I do not know what they mean. I really do not. And they're like, oh, nothing, you know, they'll be like, nothing glides. I'm like, how often does an airplane glide? You know, the only airplane that glides a lot is a glider. And the reason a glider glides all the time is it's because it's specifically designed to glide. It does one thing, glide. And, you know, it's not utilitarian at all, really. You know, and the glide ratios aren't great on most airplanes, and it's to get you to the site of the crash in most instances. You know, that's why, you know, most jets have, you know, multi-engines, is because, you know, if you're not going to be gliding places, you need multiple engines, you know, in the event that something happened, you know. It's why they used to have ETOPS. I forget what ETOP stands for, but the way that we remembered ETOPS was engines turning or pilot spinning. And ETOPS was rules of how many engines you needed to go across the ocean. And so one of the reasons they used to have a lot of 4-engine aircraft back in the day was to get across the ocean, because the engines could be unreliable, and if you lost an engine, you needed to still be able to make it across the ocean, or else you're going to crash and die. And so then they went down to 3 engines. So that was like the era of the tri-jets when I was growing up, like 7.2s, you know, L1011s, DC-10s. You know, you had Tu-154s. You know, you had a lot of tri-jets, and that was to get across the ocean. And then the engines started to get more and more reliable, and you didn't need tri-jets anymore. You could do it with twin engines. That's when you get like 777s. You know, and now all the modern jets are twins because they didn't need them, you know. I don't think it's out of rocket fuel. I think what it is, eventually the pressure goes so low that you're effectively out of. So it still lights. It's still enough to keep a candle going in the bell, but it's actually not producing really any thrust. Hydrogen's actually very interesting in real life. Is when you light off a hydrogen rocket, because hydrogen is lighter than air, as the rocket lights, a bunch of burning hydrogen comes up around the bell and it burns the outside of the craft. And so, like the SLS, let's see if I can find some SLS pictures. So that's why a lot, SLS rocket. That's why a lot of, you know, they do not do manned or crewed flights of hydrogen rockets generally, because they're afraid of the hydrogen climbing up the rocket and burning everybody to death. So they tend to be, you know, non-crewed, and that's why a lot of them use methalox. You know, and the hydrogen has one of the best impulses, because, which is essentially efficiencies, because I'm trying to find one of it taking off. Can't find one of it launching. I had a picture the other day of it getting burned. It's on. I put it on general tab, I think, in the Discord. I'll find it. Anyway, search for hydrogen, find it. There it is. Okay, I found the picture I was looking for. Yeah, so it's really gnarly, the, like here. So, like, this is what happens when the hydrogen rockets light off. If you look here, you can see the orange here is all burned. And if you look here, you see hydrogen burning above the bells, burning the bottom of the rocket. That's because the hydrogen is so light that it comes up and it burns the side of the rocket. So we were talking before about how you can see the air pressure is pushing the exhaust. It's converging it here. as you get up in altitude and the air pressure decreases, that will flatten out like that. So interesting stuff there. But hydrogen rockets can be scary because the hydrogen climbs the rocket and lights the rocket on fire, so you have to deal with that. So there's a bunch of cool stuff with all of this. All right, let's see where we're at here. How are you looking there, guy? Okay, so these tanks are empty. So we've essentially pushed 2 more tanks in here. I think it was Aaron was saying that you can get it up to 250 atmosphere, something like that. So we're currently at 186, so we could probably go higher at some point. All right. And so we should have double the fuel in here now, but we're gonna have double the weight too. That's one thing a lot of people weren't getting to, is they were like, oh, what's that? Oh, that was I don't know why. That's nothing. I was wondering what that was. You know, a lot of people were had a misconception that they thought if you pumped more air in tanks, you would float higher. It's the opposite. It weighs something. You're gonna pump more air in. You're gonna be more dense. You're gonna sink. Because eventually you pump enough air in there, now you have liquid oxygen in there, which is heavier than gaseous oxygen in the same volume. So I should be able to get this really efficient if I do. So pretty much I don't do weird, goofy turbines that are like all these intakes hanging off. That's cheating. I'm not interested in that. But what I'll do is I will do 2 turbine sections, and then you start to get losses in efficiency after that. So what I'll do is 2 turbine sections, and I'll do ducted fans. That is like one of the most efficient ways to get it if I really need the extra thrust. All right, so you see we're getting up on altitude now, much more stable now without those front pitch fins. All right, so I'm going to start to throttle up my rocket engine. I'm not going to fire it yet, but I'm throttling it up so that it's primed for when we need to go here. So we're at about 60,000 feet. 60,000 feet, you're starting to really need some, shock cones to try to slow the air down inside the engines, because it'll just flame them right out. So you're really you're pushing it now. You're getting like U-2 spy plane, which has a lot of engine issues at this altitude. This would tend to be where you're going to get oxygen starvation. So I think the devs actually overdid it a little bit here, but that's fine. If they overdo it a little bit and they make it a little bit easier, that makes it so that we can do fantasy stuff. Shit, I thought I could read something off this. I can't. All right. All right, I'm gonna light my rocket. Oh, come on! Don't behave too crazily. That was a lot of thrust. So again, that will happen in real life. If you have your rocket engine throttled up really high, what's going to happen is the engines want to move in front of the craft. And so that's why it's actually, the longer your rocket is, the more stable it is. Because you want that center of thrust further down. You get it too close, the engines are going to try to outrun it. So that's why it tried flipping me really quickly. So that's a realistic physical thing, you know, that would happen IRL. Now, what would happen in Kerbal is when you reach the, an altitude where you essentially don't have any more air, you would, your engines would flame out. Mine are not really flaming out. Am I still eating fuel? I don't know if I am or not, actually. No, not really. We're not eating any jet fuel. They're just making noise. They're not really doing anything. So we'll shut them off. So we should have double pressure, double the fuel we had, plus at a higher pressure going into the rocket. But you can see how that gets us up pretty high without ever having to burn a drop of hydrogen. They're not really burning oxygen, but so that is really an efficient and effective way to get up here without having to have enormous rockets. You know, so I'm at 186. So let's say we can't quite double that, but what that be? That would be 360. So yeah, that's too high from what people have said. I think they said 250 atmosphere is about the max. So you can hear the engines spooled down. So we're probably out of fuel now. So what we should do is try to, I would say probably we need 2 more huge tanks and overpressure more. I want to see how much jet fuel we have. We're still running 411 in here. They're all together, so we probably should be able to get rid of 2 jet fuel tanks too. So, but good test on that. I don't know. I haven't tried solid rockets. I don't really like using solid rockets. I very rarely ever would use them. Yeah, I could try linear speed. I haven't even looked at speed yet. They didn't add monopropellant. Yeah, you could get people abusing it. We'll see you later there, Rasmus. All right, so we're going to overpressure these some more. We're going to need a bunch. I'm going to cut up. I'm going to go like this, I think. Not going to go for too long today because still not feeling great. So also, like I was saying, the longer the rocket is like this, the more stable. So you get that center of thrust away from the center of gravity as much as you can. You know, if the center of thrust is too close to the center of gravity, essentially what it's doing is it would be very easy to have a reversal. So this was something that confused people in Kerbal a lot was if you had them too close together, they were essentially, you know, they can invert very easily. And so you can't afford to have that inversion. I think I'll just go down and plumb there. Okay. So I'm going to go 2 more huges here. Like that. And then we'll overpressure all of these. So it's like probably like 2.5 times, I'm thinking, something like that. That we could put in here. All right, one more. Okay, so those are plumbed in. All right, and I'm gonna duplicate a ton of tanks here, and we'll see what. We'll see how much I'm gonna stuff as much in until it stops taking any more. Just cram as much in there. It's gonna add a lot of mass, which might have to worry about. Eventually, we're going to get to the point where the rocket's just not strong enough to lift it, but I don't think we're there yet. This needs to move. Is that the one? Yeah, that's the one. All right, this needs to move. Okay, let's plumb these up. How the hell did that one get screwed up? It did, though. Alright, and we do not need this much jet fuel. So get rid of that. But definitely, I like it that SSTO seems like it's going to work out pretty well. So. Alright. It should be plumbed up pretty good there. And then what else did I want to do? Try to do a couple things on here. I'll do a linear on here just to see what we're doing. Alright, and I need to read some info off of you guy. Alright, X. XYZ. Okay, let's just do a quick micro on that. So it looks like we go up to about 80,000 feet in this, about 40,000 meters. So. And it cuts out, which makes sense. Z, Y, and X. Okay. All right, linear speed was banging there. That's fine. All right. Give this a run. Just collecting some data. Because ideally, I think this is going to be the best system. I really like running SSTO to get up there. So. Why is this full of air? Because I didn't switch them over. Copy. So I wouldn't have done this copy, and I thought they were hydrogen and oxygen. Threw a bunch of air in there. Oh, these two are screwed up. That's why. That's why. I thought I'd fix the other ones. These were all screwed up. Okay. These should be all good. Yeah, I purposely did that way. So I pissed it all in there and screwed me up. I heard 250 atmospheres, so we'll see what we can punch in here. Oh, jeez. See what we can punch in right now. I was up to 168 last time, so 186. All right, I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna grab a quick drink. I gotta wait for this to fill up anyway. All right, let's see. So this is about where we were last time at 186, so we're exceeding it now. Whoa, whoa, stop dancing there, guy. Stop dancing there, guy. It's not really It doesn't have any sort of stabilization system here. Alright, so we're up to 220. Probably getting close to max cap. Let's see what these are at. What I'll do is, so we're over 250 now. Keep it rock and rolling. Get as much in there as we can. Still going. Nice. So the more we can stuff in there, the more compact we can get, which is nice. This is, you know, it's part of the gamification that's kind of nice. Is, you know, it's the ability to be able to build what we want. You know, you want a small SSTO, you can do that, even though it's unrealistic. And that was like part of the with Kerbal. You know, the gravity is a lot less than real Earth on Kerbal, and that allowed us to make things like SSTOs and really let us do some futuristic cool stuff and some creative stuff where if things are too ultra realistic, it makes it hard to go outside of that at all. Just checking. So this was one of my predictions when this DLC came out was that it was funny. Some of the detractors who thought they'd say statements like nobody wanted space, stuff like that, and of course there was a vote for it. But like I'm looking at the official Discord right now, and it's like space. Let me see. Not space, space, not space, not space, space, not space, not space, 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 space. Not space, 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 not space. Not space, not space, not space, not space, not space, not space, space. Not space, space, space. Not space. That's Gundam. That could go either way. Space. Not space, space. Not space, space. Not space. Not space, not space, space. Not space, not space, not space, not space. That is not space, not space, not space, not space, space, space. Not, that's space. That is the phone booth from Doctor Who in space. Not space, 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 space. Not space, space, space. So it's like that whole attitude was kind of silly. It was like, one, you don't need every single person. You don't need a majority for everything. And there was somebody arguing with me at some point. They're like, oh, what they need to do as a company is essentially always do what's most popular. No, what you need to do is you need to bring in an audience. I think the devs do a reasonable job at respecting, like, dude, we're up to, okay, so we're capped now. You can see it was dropping for a little bit, so it can't maintain pressure, so I think we're good there. So that's pretty good. We're up at 400. We're up at like over 400 atmospheres. That's pretty damn good, man. Why is it dropping? Is the other tank equalizing? Are we having equalization problems? Okay, now we're equalizing out. Okay, we're good. So we're up at like 400 atmospheres here, man. So that's pretty damn good. So it's like you don't need everybody and their brother to enjoy something to have it still be a good idea. It's like, if Coke is the most popular drink. What the fuck is this? I hope I didn't fuck this up here. If Coke is the most popular drink, yeah, I still don't know what that is, but I think we're good. Oh, that's the second. I. Okay, we're good. That was from the old tanks. Um, just because Coke might be the most popular soft drink doesn't mean that Pepsi should be done away with because it's not the most popular. You know, most popular doesn't mean it's the best. You have a variety, and that's what's good, you know, and not everybody's going to want to play the most popular thing all the time, you know, and that's kind of the thought process that didn't make sense. And you see a lot of people are into space. Like, we see it in video views that people are back to watching more, you know, and so that's, you know, that's a big part of it is making the game approachable to more people is important, you know. So linear speed, we're at 300 meters per second right now. So 300 meters per second is about 600 knots. So there are people who thought the 500 meter per second cap is too low. I don't really think it's that low. Like, dude, we're going 300 meters per second. We're up to 360. We're getting up there pretty damn fast, you know, and that's with just jets pushing us. You know, 2 jets pushing this thing, so that's pretty good. You know, I don't think that's too bad. All right, so we're about halfway through the atmosphere right now. We're at about 40,000 feet. You know, and my turbines are only at 60 RPS. They could go up to 200. You know, so if I really wanted to just like blow them out, I could have more powerful jets pretty easily. I could put ducted fans on there and really get some efficient, powerful jets. All right, so you notice my speed's kicking down here. It's not going that fast. It looks like it's fast because of the, you know, this is an index, but now we want to fire. Oh, crap. I'm not able to fire my... Fuck. Can't fire my rocket here. That's screwed up. All right, I'll fix that. But yeah, so like you see some of the stuff is like, I don't think those limitations are that bad. You know, again, you think about in real, like, you know, people will compare this to real life, and it's like, in real life, you have enormous distances too. In this game, the distance is pretty short, so you essentially do time compression, which most games do. You have to do some sort of time compression, or else, you know, you're really not going to have any idea what's going on, you know. And so it's like, you know, if you were going 1,000 meters per second everywhere, well, the map is very short. The map is, you know, 256 kilometers across. You know, 1,000 meters per second, you'd be going, you know, you'd be zipping across it so fast, you'd just be like looping across it. And then you have to get into game problems where, for example, the game wants to, it can't load stuff in fast enough, and the game crashes, and then you say, game sucks, game crashes. So it's like stuff like that that they kind of have to keep in mind, you know, as the developer needs a game that's functional, you know, and it's like some of those things you eventually say, okay, this isn't going to be all that functional if, oh, this is why right here. Okay, that, how the hell did that? Oh, you know what it is? This, they're inverted, so this one didn't get fixed right. Okay. All right, so I'll fix that. That was the problem right there. So we had a rocket test there. Still a good test, but would have been better if I could bang my rocket off. So, giggity. It just takes a while to pressurize this, so it kind of sucks that I have to repressurize it. But we got up to like 420 was where 420 atmospheres pushed in there. That's a lot of pressure. Another thing they have to worry about IRL is since hydrogen is the smallest molecule, it's very, very hard to keep it in the tanks. Hydrogen is very leaky because, like, if you have other molecules and they're bonded, you know, they're bonded together, you know, everything in life is mesh. It's not opaque. But the problem is, you know, our eyes see it as opaque because we can't zoom in close enough to see that it actually looks like a screen door. You know, because most of everything is nothing. You know, and so the molecules, like, let's see if we can find, like, molecular... see if we can find, like, steel molecular structure. You know, there's a lot of gaps in there, so, like, here, let's pull up a steel here. So, like, here's some, like, crystalline chemistry structures. Well, we're letting that pump. It's like, this is what it looks like. So you have your molecules together. Most of this is empty space. So like this is what a steel tank would really look like. The issue being this is hydrogen is so small it could pass through the gaps, and so you have to be careful that hydrogen is notoriously leaky, and so they have to worry about that. That's another reason why hydrogen is tough to work with. Is you have to keep it cryogenically frozen to keep it in a liquid form. So you need a lot of, you need to really cool it down. You need a lot of facility to keep it cool. And then it wants to be leaky. It wants to expand all the time, so it's constantly trying to expand. Because it's so small, it's trying to get out of its container. It's a pain in the ass to work with. It's the best. It is the best rocket fuel. There is no better rocket fuel than hydrogen because it is literally the best. Oxygen is the best oxidizer. So hydrolox, which is hydrogen liquid oxygen, is the best, but it has a lot of problems. Like I showed you with that burning the side of the spacecraft. Do you want to put people on top of a rocket that catches on fire every launch? Maybe no. you know. And if there was a fire on the pad, guess where the fire's going? The fire wants to go up. The fire is less dense than the atmosphere around it. It wants to go up, and it wants to go past the top of the rocket where the people sit. So, there's a good fear that people are going to get, torched being on top of the rocket. And so that's, another issue that you have with it. And it wants to escape its container. Where you take methalox, you're essentially taking liquid methane and oxygen. The oxygen by itself isn't all that dangerous. The problem is if it has something that it can oxidize. The hydrogen's highly explosive. Hydrogen, because of its molecular size and its mass, is very, it has a lot of thrust. So if it pops big time because it doesn't weigh much. So it will pop and go very fast because it doesn't weigh much. And so it's great for rockets if you keep it contained. So that's, some of the reasons why they're still using methalox. God damn, why are you tipping over? Trying to do things here. Hopefully I can still take this off. You suck. I gotta fix this. Piss. Piss, piss, and piss. That sucks. You suck so bad. Tipping over, you scum. That's obnoxious. Thoroughly and assuredly obnoxious, that. I don't care for that. That's kind of sucky. All right. I could plumb this, but I don't want to plumb it right now. I'm going to do something a little bit neat, though. We'll do weighted, retraction system here, like they have IRL, which is kind of neat. I think Saturn V had these. Like that. Okay. That's the wrong one. Let's grab the wrong ones. Alright, let's grab this stanchion and we will plumb it in on the other side. Alright, what's one plumb to? Nothing. Okay, one will be the release. All right, one's release. Hopefully that works. I'm just going to test it really quick before I spend a bunch of time pumping this in. And that's why they're weighted, is so that they quickly drop so that you don't hit the arm as they come out. They're kind of neat. Up, falling off. Falling off here. What's happened to viewers? Something happened to the stream, guys? It's down to, like, I don't know if something happened to the stream. Okay, I think it's just the stream. I had a bug for a second. It showed the viewer count like went down to 0 like instantly, so it was like it fell off for a second. So could be a internet thing. Is it 1,000 atmospheres? Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I saw somebody put they had gotten it up to 250. I didn't know what it could go to. Yeah, yeah. Hydrogen is a big pain in the ass, you know, and it's you need very well sealed containers that are very, very strong to take the pressurization, because you know, you need to cram a lot of hydrogen in there at high pressure to be able to have enough fuel capacity. So it has a lot of challenges. You know, it is the best rocket fuel, but it has a lot of challenges. You know, oxygen's no cake either. You know, tries to burn everything. All right, so now we have a detachment system. Yeah, I was just looking at so it was like up to 18 viewers, and then I looked, it was down to 2, and I'm like, what the hell? And then it went right back up. So it was like, I think its information system just kind of went screwy for a second. 'Cause I want to make sure it didn't completely crash, and I needed to do something, but it seems like it's good. Yeah, but like, you know, like I was saying before, it's like I see a ton of space stuff on here. You know, you'll never get the detractors to kind of say that they were wrong on this. But it's, you know, I think it's going to bring a lot of new players in. And this is, you know, I was talking yesterday about community and how important community is the whole kind of concept of community, having more people come in and be able to play. Like, you have people who are interested in space. I'm going to probably take a break here, guys, and go to Tark for a little bit, but I want to get this last launch in. I'm waiting for my friend, hasn't been playing the last couple days, I like to play. You know, and so it brings a lot of players in, but it also gives you some variety. Like, I don't want to work on this rocket much more. That's kind of why I'm taking a Tark break too. Is like, I'm enjoying it, but I'm gonna get burned out if I do too much of it. And there are things that I still want to work on, like the remote control tugboat. That's kind of, you know, that's fresh in mind. That's something I want to work on now. And so I think this is going to be good for, like, you know, when you get that point where you're like, oh, what else do I want to do? I can't think of anything new. You're like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to make a rocket, or it'd be cool to make this. And so, like, one thing I was thinking of that's going to be a long-term thing is I want to build a, like, large max capacity SSTO plane that takes off, that has a hypersonic wing on it, has a real nice hypersonic wing. Think like Concorde, that type of wing. Big delta, and that can fly up to high atmosphere like an airplane, takes off like an airplane, flies up to high atmosphere like an airplane, lights up the rockets, and goes. And that is going to be super cool. Like, I had another cool idea that you have a train, and the train goes near the water, sucks up water, processes it into hydrogen and oxygen, and then it has an onboard rocket that it lifts up vertically and launches. You know, it's like stuff like that is super cool, and I think you're going to see a lot of new players in here. I've already been seeing tons and tons of new players, and their extra money that they put into the game, it supports all of our gameplay too, and that's kind of like some of the detractor notions were obnoxious with that, because it's, you know, if you don't want to give more money to the game, you need to allow other people to come in and play and enjoy it, and that's really helpful. And I think this is, you know, like I said, looking at the official Discord, tons and tons of people building all sorts of cool space stuff, Gundam, stuff like that, that, you know, before, you know, a week ago was not possible, and that's really cool, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so I'm going to just stop us here at 4. I want to jump into Tarkov with my friend here, and I'll probably, I don't know if I'll stream or not that, but try not to talk too much either, that I have, trying to get over this COVID here. So I can't really stream for too long because it starts to be difficult. I end up not feeling great. All right, good. So let's take a run here. So we have, you know, we're looking around, we're around 500 atmospheres there in that neighborhood. So let's go ahead and let's start to spool our turbines. I'll do it in third person so we can see those stabilizers drop. They were really cool in the Saturn V. They lifted up like that because of counterweights, and then they had a cover come over the top of them so that the rocket blast wouldn't burn them. There we go, baby. So this has a really good acceleration. We're up to 400 meters per second already. There we go, stable around 330. A little bit more now. So the atmosphere is getting thinner. That's why we're going faster now. Getting through that thick atmosphere. There we go at 420. Giggity. 470. There's 500. We just hit that. Again, it's not a hard cap. You can go over it. You notice we're over 500 meters per second. A lot of people are freaking out. It was just efficiency. So yeah, you're going to be, you know, you're going to be less efficient at that. But you know, the distance, like we're almost at 600 meters per second right now, just with jets. So now that these needles are indexed, like this one, I know when I hit here, I need to really think about launching that. We're starting to slow down. Okay, so now that we're slowing down, I'm going to bang my rocket off. And I made sure I was throttled down. Remember we almost flipped last time? That was because if you have full thrust, it's going to try to, the rocket's going to get ahead of the rocket's trying to get ahead of the rest of the craft. And you don't want that, of course. You know, you want the rocket to be where it's supposed to be. So meters per second goes away once we hit atmosphere, or get out of the atmosphere. Shut the jets off. So I wonder if, well, what's on the, so I think, is Z altitude, or is Y running as altitude? I can't tell. Looks like Y. Yeah, Y is definitely altitude, I think. I don't know, it's hard to tell. They changed it with the physics sensor, how it was, so it's hard to tell. Because Y is classically height, but you know, it's still not height on the regular flat map, so I assume that Y is altitude, but I'm not 100%. So it looks like we're definitely... Whoa, I can't do third person to save my life. I really can't. Too much time in a cockpit, I can't do it in third person. Let me see. Y is altitude, yep. Yeah, the scale doesn't really... That's not too important to me. As long as we're climbing, that's all I'm really caring about. Mainly in this test, what I want to know is... I want to see where we can get to here. You know, one test we could do to find distances, I know they published some of the distance, like 300 meters is the 300 kilometers? What is it? 300 kilometers, something like that, is the geosync area. So is point 3 the 300 meters? So are we at 260 kilometers rather? Are we at 260 kilometers right now? That's a question. I doubt it because I don't know. This could be geosync up here. I'm not sure. You know, we'll know in a second. If we get up to around 300 and the engine cuts out and we don't come back down, we know that we're around geosync. Because they said it was 300 kilometers, right? So we're still climbing, which that's good. Because, you know, if you're saying that we can pressurize to 1,000 atmospheres, I was at half of that, less than half of that. So, like, that is 0.3. I'm curious if 1 is essentially 1,000 kilometers from the Earth, and that is... you know, at the moon. I'm curious about that. So I don't know. Speculations and guesses here. Because there's the moon right there. You know, so for example, geostationary, we talked about a little bit, is IRL. You know, the way you do in Kerbal, I think it was, what, 2.6? I can't remember, man. I forget exactly what it was. It was like 260,000 meters or something. So maybe 260 kilometers was Kerbal's geostationary. It's all based on how fast the planet's rotation. The whole point of a geostationary orbit is it moves at the same rate as a station on the ground. And so what that does for you is essentially you're able to have a satellite parked over your house. And if it was moving fast, if it was in a lower orbit, it would have to, by definition, be moving faster, which means it would move faster than your house, and eventually it would gain, and it would loop, and it would lap you. If it was at a further orbit, and it's going slower, then your house would gain on it and it would lap it. You know, at geostationary, it's moving at the same rate as your house, so it stays sitting over your house. So it would not surprise me. There's the moon. I'm curious if... Hold on, I gotta try to steer here, right? I'm curious if the... I'm curious if the moon's at 1,000, which would be 1, and the geostationary is at 300, which makes sense. You know, the moon is further than, you know, a lot of us kind of conceptualize it. You know, because we're used to you know, Neil deGrasse had a good video on it. He talks about, like, we normally think of the moon as being on the same page in the textbook as Earth, and if it was in real life, it would be 4 pages away. You know, and that's the thing, is you think of it as pretty close, and it's actually further away to try to get the diagram on there. And so geostationary would be pretty close. So it'd be, if it's 30% of the distance, that would make sense. Like, we're at 0.44 right now, so I'm not sure. But, you know, the nice thing, you know, so many people complain about it being a flat plane. This makes it approachable to more people, I think, being a flat plane. Would it be cool if we had to do orbital mechanics? Sure, but again, you got a lot of people who have to learn orbital mechanics now just to be able to play the game. Where this makes it a little bit more approachable. And imagine testing things. Like right now, I would have to make sure I had enough delta V, which there's no delta V calculator in game. I'd have to figure out how much delta V I had just to circularize an orbit. Like, you know, so it'd be tough. But like, look at this little craft right now. This thing, we're still climbing. You know, we're in vacuum, so our engines are pretty efficient because we have no, you know, we're not fighting anything. can we make it to the moon with this, Johnny? I don't know. So if it is 1,000 or 1.0 to get to the moon, you're talking, we're 50% of the way there. So even if it cuts out now, what that tells me is like the main thing I wanted to accomplish this stream was I wanted to figure how much. I cannot fly in third person to absolutely save my life. I really just cannot do it. Cannot do it at all. So if this were to cut out now, we essentially say I need, at worst case, which I wouldn't even need worst case, at worst case, I would need double, if I can find the fucking moon again, there it is. I would need double the hydrogen, which means I don't even need more. Okay, we're out. Perfect. So we got up to, yeah, so I think if I don't even need to double the number of tanks. What I would need to do is double the atmospheres, which, like you said, it can go up to 1,000. We should be good. So this 4 tanks should be good to get me to the moon with this from orbit. Now, my plan is this. I want to craft like this to get from the Earth to Geosync. I want to put a station in Geosync, and what we'll do is I call it a give a penny, take a penny. Like at the register, if you have an extra penny, you drop it. If you need one, you take it. And so what I do is I do a give a penny, take a penny station where I put a tank on the station. And let's say I only need 50% of the fuel I have left on the spacecraft to get back to Earth. So that means I give 50% of my fuel to the station. So every time I go up, I'm giving it 50% of my fuel. So the station keeps gaining in fuel. Then I go back to Earth, I land. And then at the station, what I'll do is I'll launch a transfer stage. The transfer stage would essentially just get me from the station to the moon. Now, in this one, I'll probably make the transfer station go from the station to the moon and land. And so you'll actually switch vehicles, so that would be kind of cool. But as you can kind of see, this is kind of cool that you can, with this pretty simple craft, especially you see how small it can be by making it an SSTO. I think that's really cool. So we'll take a couple screenshots, and then I think I'm going to take a break and go play Tarkov. I don't know if I'll stream Tarkov or not. I kind of wanted to play with Monk for a couple days, so it'd be kind of nice to get into that. But, yeah, so I think this has been productive. Let me quickly save this. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun kind of getting to know the systems here a little. Like, I'm starting to enjoy it now, and I wasn't going to play until I started to enjoy it, or until I was really looking forward to it. Like, that's why I haven't put out a bunch of tutorials and stuff like that, is it's, I want to enjoy it. Like, there is literally no gyro on this whatsoever. None. There's literally no RCS on this whatsoever. None. There's literally no reaction wheels on this yet. None. We need reaction wheels and RCS now that we're out of fuel. Can't move. But you can see that pretty simple vehicle, and then a little bit of work on it should be pretty good. Let me finish up reading, and then we'll be reading the chat, and then I'll say adieu, and then I'm going to probably go play some Tarkov. Let me see. Like, 0 is Earth, 1 is the moon, but what is the distance? Is it 500,000? I tried 600 kilometers, but it doesn't sync to the altimeter. 0.3 is somewhere around 150 kilometers. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah, so I'm not... It would be noisy in the sense that your ass is in the seat, and it would be vibrating you, and that would be vibrating your eardrums. But yeah, you wouldn't be hearing normal noise. You would still hear noise because the vibration of your seat would influence your eardrums. But yeah, you wouldn't be hearing conventional noise out there. But how bad would it screw people up if it was completely silent? I think Kerbal still makes rocket noise because part of it is like it's just a way for you to kind of understand what the hell's going on too, which you kind of lose that understanding if you didn't have that, so. All right, let me quickly get ready to say adieu here. All right, so I want to thank all of the members. I appreciate you guys. If you're interested in becoming a member, you can go down and look in the description. Side them out and FS Gamer, Connor O'Boyle, Danny, Miles World, Sergeant Chaos, Aaron Repairs All, and Citrus. Thank you guys for being members. Thank you to Chicken Soar for being a patron. Thank you to all the subscribers. Um, let's see, what else? Any other news? Not really. Just kind of in a holding pattern a little bit here, learning some of the new mechanics, and game seems like it's fixing up pretty well. I think in a week, by Friday we should be in really good shape. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.